Welcome, everyone. I am Erica Voell. I'm a decision mentor and inner trust guide, and I write the Unfolding Substack and host the Unfolding Letters from the Middle of Becoming podcast. And I'm so glad to welcome you to today's Summer of Self-Love conversation. Hi, Christine. If these conversations, in these conversations, we're exploring women's relationships with themselves, their inner critic, and their relationship to self-love. And the Summer of Self-Love is a continuation of that started for me in April of women learning to trust themselves, because we know when our inner voice is just as important as our outer voice, and we know that when we feel good inside, then we feel confident, and that shows on the outside and how we express ourselves. And then that also ripples out into our relationships with others. And today we are joined by Becky Hobbs, who writes Her Main Life on Substack. Welcome, Becky.
Oh, thank you so much, Erica, for having me. I'm
Hi,
so excited for our
Lorraine.
conversation.
So tell us about you, what brought you to the self-love series and to Substack.
Okay, so I'm Becky. I am 51. I'm a mum of two and a grandmother now. Um, I'm a midwife. That's my day job, but I'm hoping to navigate my way out of that in the next sort of 12 months to 2 years. And what brought me to the self-love series is the fact that I thought growing up that I loved myself in terms of I thought I knew what self-love was.
Mhm.
And I realized probably, oh my gosh, 5, 10 years ago that actually what I thought was self-love wasn't self-love.
Mm.
And so when your series came up, I just thought, you know what, it was just something in me that thought I'm gonna respond and I'm gonna try and, get into a conversation and just really delve into because it's going to help me in terms of how I show up for myself and learning about other people's experiences of self love and what that means for them as well. So I think it's an amazing thing.
Yeah. She said, Christine asked for you to increase your volume.
Oh,
Christine, I am not having any problems hearing you.
is that better, Christine?
So Becky, I want to go back to what you just said. Like you said that you thought you knew that you loved yourself. I want to explore that a little bit. Like, what for you was what did you think self-love was, and what did you now? How do you perceive it?
So I think I thought self love was just about taking care of myself in a more aesthetic way, but also in a way where I did things for myself.
Hmm.
And whether that was buying things for myself, making
Mhm.
myself feel good that way, um, I realized that actually that wasn't what self-love was. And
Mm.
so what and it's interesting because I then recognized that my boundaries weren't very good. And that's when I thought, actually, because I don't have or haven't had in the past strong boundaries, and the way that I have um, interacted in relationships over the many years, I realized that I was choosing other people rather than choosing myself, if that makes
Mm.
sense.
Yes. Yeah. So I know a lot of times we mix up self-love and self-care. And so it
Hmm.
sounds like the self-care was what you were doing, and self-love was it was getting very mixed up. Does that
Yeah,
sound right?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely, absolutely. And I think
So,
maybe that was because of how I was brought up.
mm,
Um, and not really that was what I saw in other people, and I thought that was what made other people love themselves. It wasn't I didn't really make that connection.
mhm. Oh, yeah. I always assumed that, like, well, if somebody else did things for me, then that's how then I would learn how to love myself. I thought that they had some magic secret that I did not have, and I never could figure it out.
Exactly, this like secret.
Yeah. I'm like, "Why did they love themselves? I don't know what they're doing, but I'm doing the same things, and it's not working for me."
Yeah, exactly. It's yeah, and I think when I felt about, oh, Erica, you still there?
I'm still here.
Oh, so you disappeared off my screen. I thought, oh gosh, what's happened?
No, I'm
Um,
still here.
sorry, that's completely thrown my brain off. Oh God, the perimenopause brain just distracted me. Sorry, what were you saying?
I don't even
Apologize.
remember now.
Oh goodness.
It's okay. Oh, the secret that other people had that
Mm,
yeah. And I always thought that they had something special that I did not have.
it's so untrue though, isn't it?
Yeah. So I'm curious if you overheard yourself 20 years ago talking to a friend the way that your inner critic talked to you, and you heard them now, like, what would you have thought?
Um, gosh, I would have been so sad because it was really about, I think it really comes back to relationships, and it's probably not until the last few years that I really recognize that in myself. And so I would go into relationships or try and date, but I would pick people that I knew that weren't the right people. I picked people thinking that they were going to like me, but actually I was thinking, am I going to let me fit into something that I think you're going to like?
Mm,
So rather than going in and being myself, and I know when we go on dates, we bring out our best self because that's what we do.
yeah.
But I wasn't. I could really fit myself a bit like a chameleon into different situations and with different people. So I was never myself. I always hid
Mm,
the parts that I thought that probably made me who I am, the little quirks and the little, you know, things that actually now I know people love me for. But at
mhm.
the time, I would try and be someone that I wasn't, and it would be someone different every time I went on a date.
Mm. Oh, that's so fascinating, and I'm looking at your human design chart, and I'm like, "That makes so much sense." With your defined undefined identity center,
Hmm.
yeah,
Yeah,
wherever you are, whoever you're with, you're just there's as my client described it the other day, she's like, "I just felt like I was a chameleon. I was different with whoever I was with."
yeah. And it's interesting because actually that makes whereas that doesn't work when you're trying to, find someone that you're potentially going to have a long-term relationship with.
Mhm.
On the flip side, in my job as a midwife, it enabled me to go into rooms to build rapport with women because I could adapt myself to fit with the kind of person they were. So it really
Mm,
worked in those situations. So it's in so it's interesting how it's not necessarily a negative, it's a
yeah.
positive as well. It's like two different sides.
Oh, that's beautiful. Yeah. So, I'm curious how the way that you talk to yourself for years, um, also impacted how you could relate to the women that you worked with.
I I could see how, so the women that I work with are just such a, you can imagine that they're such a variety of backgrounds.
Mhm.
And I I could always feel that sense of compassion and empathy for how vulnerable these women would feel at that most vulnerable time
Mhm.
of their life potentially. Um, and just knowing that in those moments I could try and make them feel at ease and try and
Mm.
make the experience the best experience that I could do for them, and adapt myself to be able to not be rigid and it, something that I could navigate through by you know just by kind of playing a little dance, I suppose, because however they came to me, I could adapt myself to ensure that I made them feel at ease and comfortable
Mhm.
and had a great, as best experience depending on the circumstances.
Mhm. So tell us how you learned to talk to yourself as a teenager or 20 something, and how did the women around you talk to themselves, and how did that impact you when you were growing up?
So I think my it all kind of stemmed for me when I think back, because being when I was 5, I remember this clearly, being 5, and it's something that's I've um, thought about over the last probably 5 years when I started doing more inner work. And my friend at 5, I remember it clearly, was bullying me, and so at that point, I made the decision that I wasn't good enough. And
Mm.
that carried on through. And then we have more life experiences, whether it's with boys when I was a teenager. Um, Also, I remember I was really good in school. I was like someone who didn't get into trouble. I, you know, I did well, and I didn't have to really do much to do well at the time. And I remember oh gosh, I haven't even said this out loud before, but I had I was probably about 11, and on my school report, I got all A1s, I think it was at the time. And I got the school, I was the first person in the school to get like these straight A grades. We're going back
Mhm.
like 40, nearly 40 years ago now. And so the school did this plaque and presented me this plaque. And from that moment, I was the person that got the plaque first. And then it was something that then was given out every year. So that singled me out, which I really didn't like. And then from that moment, after that summer, we went back to school in the new term, and my best two friends um, just decided to not speak to me. And so that I had one friend in the class, whereas before, everyone liked me and everyone stopped talking to me because I'd got this plaque, and then I was going to go to a different school because I'd moved. And so they made me, for probably a good half of a term, so like probably about 6 to 8 weeks, I had to go into class. No one talked to me. So it
Mm.
was like I just then had to just fit in. I definitely wasn't good enough. I couldn't be myself.
Mhm.
Um, and I think that is where it stemmed from, because at home I didn't have that. My mum wasn't someone who spoke unkindly to me. She was very supportive. I think the only person in my life, when I look back, was an auntie who always made unkind remarks
Mm.
about what you were wearing. Oh, I don't know why you've picked that. That's not very nice. Why would you choose? And it's, as a young girl, who's a teenager, and you're trying to find your own way, and someone then says to you, well, what have you chosen that for? And you're thinking, gosh, I can't even choose something now. It's just like something else that makes me think, okay, that it compounds, doesn't it, to not feeling good enough.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, I think that's where it all stemmed from. It wasn't necessarily um, like the close women in my life, really.
Okay. So, was there someone in your life that in your 20s, 30s, or 40s that saw you differently than how you believed yourself, and like what did they see in you and what flipped it for you? For me, it was a coach who like saw something in me, a light in me, and I could not see it in myself, and I was like, "What? Does she not know me well enough?" But I it was the first time I had met her, and I was like, "There is just something about her that's just telling me that, like, I am worthy that I didn't feel before with my husband, who I
Mm.
love dearly and still, we're still together, but there was something that she saw in me that nobody else had seen in me. So was there someone for you that saw something differently for you in you?
I think I remember someone at work actually, and I just moved to a different hospital. I trained as a midwife. I'd worked at this particular hospital, then I'd moved to another hospital, and I really hated it there. So I was only there for 6 months, and then I moved on again, and so I was like trying to find my feet yet again in a short space of time. Um, and when you're thinking, you know, am I am I going to fit into this place? I was a lot older than most people because they were sort of all sort of in their 20s, 30s. So again, it's like making friendships and thinking, am I going to fit in? But this particular person, a job came up for, it was like a promotion. And some of the things she said to me, she said, Becky, are you going to go for that job? And I was just thinking, no, like, why would I even think like that? It's not even on my radar. Like, no, there's no way I can do that. I'm not, I'm not good enough to do that. And some of the things she goes, but you've come here, and she just listed off some qualities that I had never recognized in myself. And it was
Mm,
about that, how I appeared confident, how I was so I mean, I knew I was a kind person, but how other people spoke highly of me. And I was thinking, are you talking about the same person? Like, no one had really said those things out loud to me, whether they thought it or not. Um, and I was just, and I did, I went for the job and I got the job.
mm.
And I would never have done that had she not have had those conversations with me, but also had that belief in me that I didn't have in myself at the time.
Oh, I love this story. Oh my gosh, this is so beautiful. It's that and how often have you seen that in somebody else and then we're like, "Oh, I'm not gonna say anything." But we don't realize how like, that was an impactful
It's so
time for you.
significant. So
Yeah.
significant, yeah. And things that situation, because I know that in the past, prior to that moment, I would say things to people, but not all the time. Like you said, I wouldn't always, because I'd be like, oh gosh, that just sounds, just a bit cringe, maybe.
Yeah.
But actually, I would go out of my way to say things and to just say things, positive things to people. And it doesn't even have to be something huge, but
Mhm.
just small, like moments, small, you know, um, even just when you're out. And just because I know it's funny, I was walking back from, me and my other half had gone out for dinner, and it was a lovely sunny day. It was only a few months ago, and we were walking back to my house. And I had on these trousers. They were kind of like this kind of gold platinum, like shimmery trousers. They're nothing special, but they're comfortable. Comfort's a major thing right now in at this time. And someone was going past, and it was a mum and her daughter. And they were driving past, and they stopped at the traffic lights. And the daughter wound down her window. She must only have been about 13. And she said, "Excuse me." I said, "Oh, hi, yeah, can I help you?" She goes, "My mum and I were just looking at your trousers and we think they're absolutely wonderful and you look amazing." And I was just like, oh my goodness, thank you so much. Like, that's such a kind thing to. And I literally was beaming the rest of the walk home and like the rest of the evening because I just thought, oh my goodness, like how lovely. And like it's not even just an adult, it's her daughter. So the relationship and what the values that she's instilling in her daughter and the conversations they must have, how lovely is that just to wind down and say that to a stranger
I'm
and
so
to an adult as well.
yeah. Oh my gosh, I love that. Oh, and what an amazing moment for you and for her, because then she got to see the look on your face and you're like, "Wow, yes.
Hmm.
Okay,
Hmm.
thank you." Like, oh my gosh, what a cool moment.
Yeah.
So, you have this other woman at the hospital who said this
Mm.
about you, and then you have this, um, occasion where this girl mentioned your trousers. So, how have you started to see yourself differently through not just the lens of other people, but how have you started to develop that self-love and seeing yourself differently since your 20s and 30s?
I think it has been. I've done some work on myself in terms of like I've done some energy type work and some work around limiting beliefs, which has and done some journaling, which has made me be aware of how I talk to myself
Mhm,
and also how when other people and noticing how when other people speak to me or pay me compliments that I was always someone, like a lot of people, that you dismiss them, and not in a way that you want to be rude, but in a way where you just brush it off as if to say, oh, someone would compliment your trousers and you say, oh, I got them in the sale, or oh, I've had them years, or you just make a comment to kind of um dumb down that compliment. But actually, when I noticed that more and more, and I flipped it around and I thought, if I'm paying someone a compliment and I was being more aware, and then they did that, they um, brushed it off, actually, how did that make me feel passing the compliment? Because
mhm,
it doesn't, it's kind of a two-way thing, isn't it? Because you want to make the other person feel good, not to get any benefit from it, but you want to make, you're saying it because actually you believe it, and so you want them to know it because that makes someone feel good. And then if they're brushing it off, then you're thinking, well, actually they don't necessarily believe it.
mhm.
um I've gone off on a tangent and I don't even know where I was going with that. Sorry. This is what happens to me. I'm sorry, I just literally.
That's okay. That's okay, because the tangents sometimes have better something more juicy than, like, what I originally asked. So, has anyone in your family or, friends, have they noticed something that's different about you as you've done all this work? Has anybody said anything to you? People have said to me often, like, "Did you get a new" like, when I was starting to really do the work, and they would be like, "Something's different about you. Did you get your hair cut?" And I was like, "No." But there's just a part of me that's like, "I know why you're seeing it, but no, I did not get a haircut." So has anybody
I love that haircut.
have other people noticed things about you or said something about you in your family, people that are close to you, or maybe even, you know, people you work with?
um I No, I can't really pinpoint. What I would say though is the the, the person who I'm in a relationship with now. Oh, how do I um they see me differently to how I used to see myself.
Mm.
So, I, if that makes sense. So,
Yeah, talk more
when
about
I
that.
when I went into so when I went on a date with him. So prior to that, as I said before, I was always like trying to be a comedian. And I thought, right, I'm going to go into this date because I'm tired of dating. I'd do it for a little while and then I'd be like, no, I'm not dating anymore. And I'd do it again. It'd always work out the same and nothing would ever come of it. And I went into this date and I'd listened, I used to listen to lots and lots of podcasts. And at the time I was listening to some, like, it was a dating podcast. And someone came on and they were speaking and I was like, are you speaking to me? Because you're talking about going on dates and I am the person you're talking about, like, to a T. And
Mm,
they had what was called the post date 8. And so when you went on a date, these were the questions you were going to ask yourself, and it kind of flipped things around. So it was about, how did they make you feel? Like, how did that person make me feel? Was there something that they spoke about that made me a bit more curious about them? And so it was all about not me putting on a front or anything to make them like me. It was about how I felt about them and the conversations that we had. And
mhm.
so it really framed it a little bit differently. And so I went in there on this day. I can't remember all the questions, all the questions that I that you asked afterwards. And it was such a great day, but I knew as I was speaking to him, I was saying words were coming out of my mouth that I would never have said to anyone else on a date before.
Oh,
Like, I was so honest about myself and about things that I liked and my little quirks and everything. And I thought, do you know what? If you don't like me, that's fine. And I changed my outlook completely, and it worked. And so he saw in me all the things that I'd probably hidden about myself for
mm.
all of these years, and actually, he loves me for them.
Oh, oh, I love that. I love that. And it's so subtle. Like it was
Hmm.
not like anything huge that you were doing. And just yeah, I love that. And I love it when sometimes you go out with this happened when I went out with my husband the first time and we were just talking and I was like, we had been talking on the phone for 2 weeks before we actually met in person, but I was like, I am telling him things I've never told anybody before because I'm so comfortable, and I thought, if he doesn't like me, then that's you know, there's a part of me that wanted him to really like me, and there was a part of me that was just like, "I'm done, and if he doesn't like me, oh well."
Yeah. It just whether it just gives off a different energy because you're
Uh-huh.
it's not like that, it's not that need, like, maybe it came from a neediness from me before.
Mhm.
So maybe, and it is all about the energy, isn't it, really?
Yeah.
From everything in life, it's about the energy that you bring and
Mhm.
how that can make such a massive difference. But yeah, like, I'm just done. You were
Yeah.
just done.
Yeah. Yeah. So what is something that you do daily for yourself that is, like, really about practicing self-love and not necessarily self-care? Because I
Hmm.
mean, the self-care is, like, one and done and, like, "Oh, that felt great," and but we can't all, go to the spa and live at the spa. So, like, what is
No,
there something that you
exactly.
do regularly that maybe doesn't even look like self-love on the outside, but is just the thing that you do because you love yourself?
For me, I would say it is taking time for myself, whether that's so. And I don't mean, it's not that I get up early and I before my shift and do I don't have a massive morning routine. I've tried it, it hasn't didn't work for me. But and thinking that was like, if you do this, Becky, that means you, like, love yourself because you're
Mhm.
getting up half an hour before, you're doing your journaling, you're doing your meditation. It's not to say that those aren't don't have their place, absolutely. But for me, I was always giving myself and putting everyone else first. So, and I'm sure there are so many of us that we come last. And
Mhm.
whether it's people at work, whether it's your family, just coming home from work and putting the dinner on, all of those things that you're giving to someone else, you're part of you. And then maybe at the end of it, you fall into bed completely exhausted. So I would come home, and I do this now. I come home, I often make myself a drink, whether that's a coffee, using my little coffee machine and my vanilla syrup and, make myself a vanilla latte. And I will just sit and just, and it's not even to listen to anything, it's just to sit and enjoy my coffee and enjoy my time for 20 minutes.
Mhm.
And that is something that I relish. And if I can't do that for whatever reason, it's in my car, because I don't know about you, but like in my when I'm traveling on a journey, I always used to listen to music, but as I've got older, I would listen to podcasts, or I would listen to
Mhm.
a training of some sort. So I was filling my time and I was doing, doing, doing. So there was never still any moments where it was just kind of that contemplation, or just, silence throughout the journey.
Mhm.
So now, not every day, but I like to come home from work, just drive, and it's about 30 to 40-minute drive, and I just sit in silence sometimes. And that actually for me is time for me, because I'm not having to process anything that's I'm listening to. I'm not having a conversation with someone on the telephone and giving myself that way. I'm
Mhm.
just actually taking time for my brain to kind of decompress. My mind goes in lots of different places, but eventually it's just peace, I
Mhm.
would say. And it's that peaceful time.
Yeah, I remember in the profile that we just published, I guess it was last week or 2 weeks ago, that you were featured in, and then I read that and I was like, "Yes, I love that." That's been a hard practice for me to adopt, but I've noticed I'm so much calmer when I go somewhere and I haven't been listening to something, or
Hmm.
and often when I was still at the library and it was really stressful, I would put something on and I would sing along, but I noticed that the times when it was silence are when I actually came home in a much better mood.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's such a novel idea because we have this, radio in our car, and
Hmm.
we have podcasts and a phone, and, like, we have so much, but I think for so many of us, that silence feels sometimes scary, but also once you get used to it, you're like, "Oh, I can't imagine driving with that, anything on now," sometimes.
It is.
Or
And I think, sorry,
And
apologies.
sometimes I come home and I would, like, pull into the garage and close the garage door, and I would sit in my car for 10 minutes in silence, and I'm like my daughter's like, "Why are you not coming in?" I'm like, "'Cause I just need to calm down." Yeah.
I love that you sit in your car when I do that too. Like I would literally pull on my drive and I just sit there, and like you say, like 5, 10 minutes, and then I'm like, okay, I'm ready to go
Mhm,
and go into the house now. And you're right though, it can feel so uncomfortable, because it's like you're just with yourself, aren't you? Yes, you're
mhm.
driving, but it's almost like when you're on a journey that you know inside out, for example, and you're just driving, you go on autopilot anyway, don't you? It's like you
Oh, yeah.
have I even how did I even get home? But when you're with yourself and your own thoughts and you've got no distractions, it can be really uncomfortable if it's something that you're not used to.
Mhm.
Absolutely. It does
Yeah.
take a bit of getting used to, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah. And I remember this was years ago, somebody told me he was, Indian, and he's like, "All of you Americans drive around with some, noise in your car," and he's like, "How can you be with yourself?" And I was like, I don't wanna be with myself. My thoughts
Exactly.
are too
What?
that's too much noise. Like, I
Yeah.
need something to distract me. And then I realized that came up for me recently, and I was like, "Oh, there's a reason he doesn't drive around with noise."
Mhm.
So, I know for a lot of women, they find that perimenopause can actually stir up some old patterns. And what were some patterns around self-love that you found yourself saying that, like, actually, let me reword this question. I misread it. So for some women, like, perimenopause can stir up old patterns, but for some
Mhm.
of us, it's like we have been in these old patterns and we're like, "I am not doing this anymore." So what were some patterns that you found around self-love that you found yourself being like, I'm done. I'm not doing this anymore. So what were some of those for you?
So there's two that come to mind. One of them is friendships, and that is about my my time is precious, and there are people that I want to spend my time with. There are friends that I want to spend my time with, but there are friends that have maybe been friends for a long time and you feel obligated to spend your time with certain people. And sometimes, no, for me, I know that my time is precious, and um, and that also has come about more recently because, as well as perimenopause, from like losing a close friend, and actually, I want to spend time and create memories with the people that actually, like, give not give me back anything substantial, but like we have a good time together. We enjoy each other's company. We are on the same wavelength, not because I've known you for X amount of years and I feel obligated. So those sorts of friendships, maybe I sound harsh, I don't know, but I'm kind of done with that because, like,
Mhm.
what is the point? And then the other thing, oh gosh, what is the other thing? Oh my gosh, my this is what I hate about perimenopause is that things just fall out of my head. Um, like, let me take a moment because the other one was important. Oh, feeling like it kind of is along the same lines actually. But when you are expected to do things, go places, events, occasions, and actually, I would always go along with whatever people wanted me to do or what they wanted to do. But I'm done with that. If I don't want to do something, most of the time, I'm not going to be doing it.
Mhm.
If it's unless there are obviously certain exceptions to that rule, but generally speaking, um, I would, if there's a group of us and it's like, oh, let's someone suggest something, and I'd just go along with what everybody else wants. But now I'm like, no, I don't want to do that. You guys, if you want to do that, that's absolutely fine. But I'm going to step out, and I'm not going to get any fear of missing out. No FOMO here.
Mhm.
It's just not my thing, and I think I would never like. I'm just done with that.
Mm. Yeah. Yes. Bravo. Yes, I feel the same way. I feel the same way. Like, my time is too precious
Hmm.
and it's finite, and I've spent way too much time saying yes to things I did not wanna do.
Yeah, absolutely. And you do that, and that is such a significant way of not loving yourself, isn't it? Because you
Mhm.
think that everyone else matters before you do, like
Yes.
putting everybody else first. And actually,
Yes.
you need to choose yourself first.
Yes. So I have been identifying parts of the human design chart that I know are related to self love. And I want to be clear that, like, to those who are the traditionalists, this is not part of the traditional human design teachings. This is my own interpretation. And I want to really be clear about that. But I looked at your chart and I'm curious about some things that came up as I was looking at them. And we're exploring, women's relationships with themselves. And so the part that I looked at, you have one of the excuse me, one of what I'm calling the self-love inner codes. Um, so yours is around perfectionism, and sometimes the inner critic can show up and say, I should have done better, or nothing I do is ever enough good enough. Or I always find a way to mess things up, or there's always something that can be improved. Um, how does that resonate with you? And like, how has that shown up in your life? And how have you maybe rephrased it or like flipped it on its head?
So that is, yeah, I really resonate with that because even so, a few weeks ago, I facilitated a workshop at a women's festival, and it was something that I did based on like a feeling that I think, right, I'm going to do that. Didn't second guess myself. I just thought, right, I'm going to do that, and I put in my application, and just went for it. Didn't think about it, because obviously that would have put me right back. Um, but it was about wanting it to be perfect, and thinking, if anyone's going to come to that workshop, because it wasn't anything anyone booked on, it was on the day. So it was looking at the title. Was the title good enough? Is it going to be a title? So from um every step of putting together that workshop, it was making sure it was like on point, to the
Mhm.
point where I spent money making these, like, I mean, they look amazing. These little like pocket, a bit like a business card, but not a bit. It was like a flip, and it had some questions about like how, like, your inner knowing and different things, and journal points, and I put those together, thinking that would make it even better. Um, and so that perfectionism definitely comes in there. But also, what came to me when you were saying was I think of it as competitiveness.
Mm.
I am someone who is not outwardly competitive, but I always call myself secretly competitive. And so I always want to be the best at something. And it's not
Mm.
necessarily about winning. Is it about winning? If I was playing a game, it would probably be about winning, but it's about being secretly competitive. And that's what dropped in for me when you said about the perfectionism,
Mhm.
interestingly.
So is it competitive with yourself? Because I know my daughter is very
Yeah,
competitive with herself, or is it like, do you find yourself being very competitive with other people? Or is there just a sense of like, I have to be the best?
yeah. I have to be the best. So it's not, it's about, it is for myself, but it's also about other people, but not letting them know. So I wouldn't be
Mm.
someone, so for example, just to for something that's easy, if I was playing, I don't know, I went bowling with some friends. I don't really go bowling, but anyway, I went bowling with some friends. I wouldn't be like, come on, I've got to win, I've got to win. You know how some people are very openly competitive, and I'm literally just the person thinking, I really want to win this. Like, I like would do my absolute like best at, just to be the best, but I wouldn't be open about it. Yeah. And I think that's that I think that's that perfectionism.
Mhm.
Interestingly, yeah. I think that's how that shows up for me.
Okay. Oh, that's so fascinating because I know that it shows up for people differently, and I just am so curious, like, how does this show up for you? And I know I'm looking at your chart and, like, you have it in 2 places, and so you have it in the with it the it's it also has a line quality of, the relationship part of it, but also, like, the trial and error, and then also, getting to that role model stage. So I'm just it's always fascinating to me how things show up, and, like, I know that people have a very similar some people that have were born one day apart, they
Mm.
experience everything so differently. So, tell us about your I kn I know you I know you through, Julie Ciardi's Ignite. So, how
Hmm.
have you been exploring human design, and are you using it with other people, or is it just something you've been exploring for yourself?
So I have, can you hear me okay still?
Yes, I
Yeah.
can hear you.
So so I have I came across human design 5 years ago, and um fascinated, absolutely loved it, but like a lot of us, just something wasn't quite right, didn't, it
Mhm,
was just too complicated. So found obviously Julie amazing, like literally can't get enough of it. So, but, and there's things like my gate 50 is my um unconscious son. And
mhm,
I remember 4 or 5 years ago I had a human design reading, And they said about my gate 50, how it appeared in like 4 or 5 different places. And it's like, I can't remember what words they used at the time, but I was just like, I really don't get it. I really do not get it.
Uh-huh.
And then the language around the Ignite, so Julie's language, was so, it just hit me. Like the realizations, I was like, oh, that's what it meant. That's what it means.
Uh-huh.
Um, and it just, and I can see it, like the fury now, even now, um, within my house, um, when things aren't what I want them to be, literally this rage erupts inside of me, and and I can see that at work as well, when people aren't treated in the right way, when there's things about the culture at work, um it really is something that, like, does give me that fury, that kind of rage. Like, how can that be happening? And I always grew up thinking, when people talked about values, I'm thinking, I don't really have any values. I don't
Mhm.
think I have values. And so the whole boundaries and values thing was just, yeah, and all the time it just resonates with me so much. Um, yeah, and there's just so, I just, it has made me realize a lot of things about myself and about patterns, and it's about being aware of those things and not making them mean anything. And
Mhm.
I think the language, making you aware and noticing where things happen and how you can flip it around to make it so much better, um to gain something that's, yeah, to gain something, so you're not in that, you're using that challenge to better things.
Mhm.
Just, yeah, is something that, just, yeah, I could talk about it all day. Like, I just love it. And I do want to use that with people in, in the future,
Mhm. And
because I think it's a fascinating.
and you do have that 54 times. Oh my gosh. I
Yes,
to
I
get this,
know.
I'm like, wow. And not only that, but like that is part of the mama bear when it's
Hmm.
completed, that mama bear energy. And I I know a few people who have that full channel and they're just like they are they are the mama bears. They are very protective of people. So and it's just to have it 4 times, like, I don't know a lot of people who have one particular gate that many times. That's so cool.
Yeah, it is cool. And it, like, when you don't realize, like, what does this even mean? I don't get it.
Uh-huh.
And this is what I love about the self, like the study, not having someone tell you about your design, about actually you contemplating your own design and delving
Mhm.
into it yourself, and how that has such a massive impact, rather than, someone just saying, oh, you have this and it's this, that, because it means nothing, does it? It doesn't really,
Mhm.
it doesn't do anything. Whereas when you're going into your own design, and you can put things together, and you get these, like, light bulbs, and think, oh my gosh, that just makes so much
Yes.
sense. And you can see how, where you can um where you can develop and grow, and, like, yeah, I just
Mhm.
yeah, it's amazing. I love it.
Yeah, when I first learned about it, I was like, "This is weird. I'm not going to look at" like, it looked so complicated, and but there was something that kept calling me back, and then I was like, "This is a cult. I'm not getting into this. No."
Cool, yeah.
But, like, something kept calling me back, and I just kept going back, and then, like, I found Erin Claire Jones, who I studied with,
Hmm.
and then I found Julie because I was looking for somebody to tie it into business, and now I'm just like, I can't every time I meet people, I'm like, "I wanna know what their design is,"
Oh
and after
gosh,
I've
I
met
know,
them,
yeah.
after I've talked to them for a while, I'm like, "I'm just curious. Could I look up your chart?" Like, it's so funny, and the projectors I've met, I'm like, "I knew it. I knew it." So,
It's crazy, isn't it? It's
it's
just
so
so
fascinating.
fascinating.
I can't
Yeah.
imagine being it's changed my life as a parent, it's changed my life as a
Mine too. Like, as
spouse.
a parent, yeah.
Yeah.
And like
And
looking at my girls' charts and even my granddaughters,
uh-huh.
that is just, it's a game changer. It really
Yeah.
it like my granddaughter, who is, just over one now, and I put together something when she was a few months old for my daughter. I said, "Here you go. This is. Let me know what you think." And she was just like, "Well, she's only a baby, but some of this is her to a T, already." And actually, and then thinking about how you navigate and how you can parent slightly
Mhm.
differently based on what her human design is. Like one size doesn't fit all, does it? You can't
No.
parent the same way for different children.
Yeah. Yeah. So tell us what you are working on right now. Are you working on a certification or anything? Are you are you getting a business together? Tell us what you're working on.
Yeah, so I've done many things. That'll be my line three over the years, trying to, I suppose, get out of midwifery. But and I've always thought, oh, there's something wrong with me because I haven't managed to do it yet. And following someone else's framework, and all of those things that we see on a constant day-to-day basis. Oh, this will be the thing that gets me out of midwifery. um, but it doesn't, because it didn't work for me. Um, but along the way, I did, I trained in the activation method, which is like a manifesting, modality, and it just works across like your, not just, we can think and do some journaling, change things, but this works on a kind of energy, emotional, mental bodies as well.
Mhm.
So it kind of can, transmute or change beliefs about yourself in a really quick and, profound way, really. But combining that with the ignite her frequencies. So I've just submitted my final project.
Congratulations.
So yeah, so finally did that, and I'm just working on how what's going to be the next thing. I really wanted to get the certification out of the way. So it's just really building on that. I've got some things in the pipeline for the next sort of, to launch the next sort of month. um, and just really, my thing is, I got so tired of hearing people, and I still do at work. I have conversations with people about, perimenopause. It's like so huge, isn't it? And it has such a impact for so many people.
Mhm.
But people at work who don't want to be there, but feel like they don't have any other option. And actually, because they think, oh, do you know what? I'm nearly 50, or I've just had my 50th birthday, or around those years. I've got a good job, and I might as well just sit out until I retire and then retire.
Mhm.
What? Like, why? Like,
Wow.
why? Like, you have so much more. And when I think back to, a moment sitting in my garden, um, it was probably, gosh, now 5, 4 years ago. My nanny, who's no longer with us, but she had just had her 100th birthday.
Mm.
And so at the time, I wasn't even half her age. I hadn't even got to 50. And I thought, I was sitting there thinking, oh gosh, these things aren't working out for me. It's too late. And no, Becky, no, you are not even half the age that Nanny is today. And so I thought, there is so much more potential. It is not too late. It's never too late. And I think we are so conditioned to think that we live to about 40, and then we kind of set out to, you know, pastures old, and, not to really live our lives anymore. And actually, that is just absolute rubbish.
Mhm.
You're gaining all this wisdom, and actually, you can now use that to do something that you really want to do, because actually, we half the time we grow up and we don't know what we want to do, and we do things to please other people, and we have the family, and then we find what we really want, what we really love, and we can do that. And it's yeah, that's what I want to help people with.
Mm. Oh, I love it. So I have one last question for you, and
Okay.
it's one question that I ask my podcast interviewer interviewees and on Substack. And it's, what is one unwritten rule of midlife you would like to rewrite? And I almost feel like you already answered this.
I think I have answered it. But that we don't have to get to midlife and settle. Like, it's
Mhm.
like, I really feel that there's so many women out there, particularly, that need to realize that it is not the end. We don't need to settle if we're not happy. Yes, if you're happy, absolutely carry on as you are. But if you feel something isn't quite right, or there must be more out there, there is. There is definitely
Mhm.
more out there. And be approaching midlife, getting to midlife is an absolute blessing. And you can now go on and do whatever you want to do. Like,
Mhm.
it's there for the taking. You just have to have that, something in you to, and I just want to help people find that, because
Mm.
people just need to not settle.
Oh, ooh, Becky, that's so good. So good. So thank you so much.
Oh,
I always, one of the things I don't like about Substack is that when we sign off, like, when I end the call, like, that's it. But I
it's
want to thank
done.
you so much for coming on, and thank you for everybody that joined us, Christine and Lorraine and Therese and Linda and Katie and Pam. So thank you all for joining
Yes,
us.
thank you all for joining. And thank you so much for having me, Erica. I've
Oh,
really enjoyed this conversation and your
you're
time as
welcome.
well. It's been
Yes,
lovely.
yes, and I hope you stay cool over there in the
Thank
UK.
you.
Those your American friends understand the heat waves, but,
Yeah,
if you
we're
don't have
just
air
not used to it
conditioning,
here in England.
if
There's
you don't
been
have
no
air
rain for
conditioning,
weeks.
yeah. So, Becky, thank you for being part of this project. I've loved it. I've loved getting to know you, and I know that everybody loved hearing you today. So, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Erica, and all the best for all of your. I can't wait to listen to the other series that you have as well.
Well, thank you. Have a good one, and everyone, we'll talk to you soon. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.